Mike, do you have some?
Yep. These are that if you want to pass it around.
Sure.
And I can read them if you'd like. But the Airpark Advisory Board. The Airpark Advisory Board shall consist of 5 members, at least one of which shall represent a neighborhood in the immediate vicinity or is impacted by the flight patterns and approaches. Others may be appointed as ex officio in the capacity of ex officio in order to obtain technical expertise unavailable locally. So that's the makeup of the board, and we have all of those things right now. Terms of the members of the Airpark Board shall have 4-year terms, staggered such that no more than 2 terms expire in any given calendar year. Now, the important part that we're going to discuss is the powers and duties. The Airpark Advisory Board may initiate studies and make recommendations on the operation and maintenance of the airpark to the City Council, and shall be responsive to the City Council on airpark matters referred to the board by City Council. So what that's saying is that this is one of the boards that has a little more flexibility. Some boards cannot initiate work on their own. This one says you may initiate things on your own, being at the airpark and more familiar with it than some of the other boards. Otherwise, you would be directed by council to look at things. So that's the discussion we'll have today. I mean, historically, we've worked as a team. You know, the liaison, the FBO, and we brought things together. Things came up at the board. Things were initiated at this level. But the actual powers and duties is that you, as a board, if you feel you want to, you may initiate studies or make recommendations to initiate a study if you can get the board to support that. So, any discussion? Okay, Ron, you understood that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. So that's really all we wanted to do in 4.1 is to go over the code. Sometimes that gets lost in translation, and we don't bring it as often as we should have. So it's a good time to do it with new members and after such a long break.
Right. Agreed.
Okay, second one is this discussion of the Airpark Advisory Board frequency. There has been some boards feel that they don't meet enough. So council wants each board's...
I'm sorry, did you want to say something to that? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you're on old business? Okay. What was I saying?
I'm sorry.
Meeting
You're talking about the
frequency.
frequency.
Oh, the frequency, yeah. Some of the boards feel that they want to meet more, or need to meet more frequent. Others feel they meet enough or too much, depending on what their board is. So the discussion for you today is to talk about the meeting frequency, and do you feel it's enough to handle what the Airpark needs and what you think the Airpark needs?
Anybody want to start? I will. No?
Go ahead.
I think, well, it's been a year since we had a meeting, so, but the prior schedule was what, 3 times a year?
Quarterly.
Every 3 months, so quarterly. I thought that was fine at the time, but after not meeting for a year, I don't know. I guess that would be fine, quarterly. I don't see any reason for me or for any problems unless, yeah. So quarterly is fine with me. I wouldn't want to make it any more frequent, but it could maybe be a little less frequent. Maybe 3 times a year instead of 4, but the fourth one's, it's not a burden or anything, so. it would be
Yeah,
fine.
I was thinking quarterly makes a lot of sense, unless there's something in particular that's of urgency or that the advisory board should know about, and I think that would come from Barbara or someone at the airpark. Other than that, it just seems like quarterly would make sense to me.
But you're able to call a special meeting for an emergency.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna suggest. I think 4 meetings is enough, as long as we have the ability to call an additional meeting if need be, so you don't need to wait an additional 3 months if some sort of answer from the board is needed.
Yeah, and all boards have that ability to call a special meeting, so if there was something of urgency that happened the day after tomorrow, we didn't want to wait until, 3 months, we could call a special meeting.
Okay.
So that would be something that I would share.
Give about a week or two.
Yeah, we give the proper notice for the
Right.
clerk's office, and then we would have our meeting.
How about Ron or Mason? Do you agree?
Ron?
Ron, did we lose you?
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay, your views on our meeting schedule quarterly right now?
I'm kind of on once a quarter, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So I could
I have
go.
no, opinion on changing it or not.
Okay, so that's pretty much
You want
unanimous
what's okay.
then, that we're meeting quarterly with the ability to hold a special meeting or meetings as situations arise.
Okay. Great.
Okay, and I'm just gonna run down these because these are things that every board is doing with. I've been with this board for 3 years and the Marine Board, and we have not in those years did council presentations. Some boards do give council presentations. They're looking for all the boards to at least visit with the council face-to-face once a year. So that said, I attached the council's schedule, their yearly schedule, for you guys to look at a date. It would be outside of this meeting. It would be in an evening at one of their regularly scheduled council meetings, which are usually twice a month on Thursday nights. So does anybody have any preferences to month?
Doesn't matter to me. At this point, I would be available. I generally say any of those times, unless it just, if we have a vacation or something planned. Other than that, it would be fine with me.
Okay.
Generally, the chair gives the presentation, it's maximum of 5 minutes. It can be rescheduled if you're the chair and on vacation. They like the board members to be present just so they can stand up and the council can put faces with names.
And what I would recommend, I think they're looking, we've just now met for our first meeting, so I don't think they want to meet with us this month. We haven't done anything. So I'm gonna work with the clerk's office because she's gonna be scheduling, multiple meetings. And, with their agendas, we may be scheduled 3 months out, 4 months out, whatever that may be. So I can get back with you on that, on a date and see if that works for everybody. I'll send that around. Is that fine, Pat? Because I'd like for us to get a couple meetings under our belt before we, meet with the board.
I think that makes sense.
So, and then my question for moving forward, are they looking for you to come the same time every year, or would it be a flexible
It's
thing
very
for every
flexible.
year?
But I think they would prefer like you guys to do November or October and then this board to do January. Only so they don't get everybody wanting to do it in December is what was happening.
Okay.
So just spread them out over the year. You can grab your own month now or you can,
Well, then my other question does the fiscal year for the city run for the calendar year, or is it like a June to July?
It's October.
October 1st is our fiscal year begins, so we're not. But this meeting could be calendar year. It wouldn't have to follow the fiscal year. But what I would suggest is that depending on how we meet February, May, and August, maybe September is a good month. We'll have had 3 meetings, and then we could meet in September. I wouldn't want to meet a week before, a meeting. So if we stay out of the months of, the month after our meeting would be a good time to meet. So either September or December.
I think either one of those were good, because I think it's pretty good to stick with when a fiscal year is ending, because then you can kind of wrap up on the
Yeah.
city's timeline for their,
So let's say September then for our annual meeting, if everybody agrees with that. Well,
That's fine.
and there are 2 dates in September. September, where are we?
It's usually right around Labor Day. It's the first and third Thursday.
The 2nd and the 16th are the 2 meeting dates in September. So it would be one of those dates, and I will find out from the clerk. Sometimes their agendas are heavy, so they move stuff around. So we'll find an agenda where you're not sitting here waiting to give your presentation because it's a full agenda.
Yeah, I think right now they just want a month.
A month, so we'll say
Okay.
September.
Great. Sounds good.
Okay, very good.
Oh, Mr. Mason, do you have any comments? Ed, I think he can hear you and not me.
Ron, did you have any comments on that?
No, three times a year, I'm fine with me, no.
Okay, very good. So September it is.
Yep, okay.
Okay, now I'll turn it back over to you, Paul. Sorry to step on you there.
Oh, no, no, that's fine. So next, with 4.4, fixed base operator verbal update.
Yes, you need a mic.
Okay, well, it's been a year since we've been here, but, business was a little slow during during April when we had the travel closed down, but since then, business has picked back up to pretty much normal. So all of our hangars continue to be full. The waiting list actually keeps getting longer. I get calls almost daily, calls and emails, people wanting hangars. Seems to be a popular area and a hangar shortage in this area. We do expect to have some traffic for the Super Bowl. I had a couple people call. One was a Pilatus, one was a Phenom 300 jet. They wanted to come in at 4 o'clock or so on Sunday and then depart at midnight, which I told them they could not do. So they have to go to a different airport. So we will lose some of that kind of traffic, but we do expect to have some just general aviation, small airplanes come in for the Super Bowl. I don't know how much, we are taking reservations. We have 5 or 6 people on the list, but not everybody's going to call ahead, so we're kind of set up for that. We have places where we're going to park people and all that, so that's pretty much all I had, unless anybody has any questions.
Are you, you say your hangars are full and you have a waiting list. Are you seeing people trying to shift away from either St. Pete Clearwater or somewhere else around here?
Not really, no. I mean, there's people that would want a hangar at our airport might not necessarily want to be at a bigger airport like that. Our fuel prices are definitely much better than a big airport like that. But they like the convenience of not having to talk to a tower, and a lot of it has to do with location. But there's just a handful of airports in this area, and pretty much all of them are full. Now, you do have some on the other side of Tampa, which might have hangars, but if they live in Clearwater, they don't want their airplane in Tampa. So that's more what you see. It's more of a convenience for location.
Yeah, that makes sense.
and this has been an ongoing thing for years, that there's
Right,
been
it's
a waiting
nothing new.
list. It's nothing new.
Right, oh yeah, we've always had a waiting list. Right before I started, I think that airport that was up in Newport Richey closed, and I think David could probably know more than that. But that's when I heard a lot of people that were up there came down and helped to fill the hangars that we had. Ever since then, we've been full, and the thing is, we have very little movement. People stay, so there's not a lot of turnover.
So are there people that want to park in uncovered parking?
We do have some of that, but even those right now are pretty full because we have winter visitors in that are here for 3 or 4 months. So we probably only have a couple. We could definitely use more parking, which is on the master plan, to put some more tie downs in. We call those tie downs. So. But yes, we have a lot of planes on tie downs, and people will put them there. And we have transient or visitor parking as well, so on tie downs.
So if you had more tie downs, would you expect to be able to fill those?
Yes.
Okay, because that's,
Especially in the winter months, because you do get people from up north that just come and stay for 4 months or so.
yeah, you know, that's revenue to the airport, so, okay.
Okay, thanks, Mark. That comes up to 4.5, election of officers, but we were talking about doing it at the end of the meeting.
Oh, no, this is fine.
Okay.
I'll take nominations for chair.
I nominate Kelly.
Are there any other nominations?
Ron, you have any nominations? Can you hear us? We're nominating chair now.
Okay.
Kelly O'Donnell was nominated. We're looking to see if there's any other nominees or a second.
I'll second.
Seeing none, we have a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ron? Are you in support of Kelly as chair?
Take the mute off your phone.
Ron?
Ron?
Hello?
Hello?
We need your yay or nay for Kelly as chair.
Oh, sure, yay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sounds like,
And we need a vice chair. So I'll take nominations for vice chair.
Nope, I'll nominate Paul.
Okay.
Because of his experience
Oh.
here on the
Are
board.
there any other nominations? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ron, are you in favor of Paul as vice chair?
Yes, yes, I am.
Very good.
All right. Election of officers complete.
Congratulations.
Old business items. 5.1 on the list is discuss 2020 updates sent to the board on October 28th of 2020.
Now, I sent everybody the links to those items. They were pretty much the master plan that we've had in-house for almost a year now. So discussion on that. What else was on there, Mike?
rules and regulations.
Oh, the rules and regulations that the city manager signed and we passed. We had been working on those before the shutdown, but we have since passed them, and I can explain what that means later. And was that it? And then
I think those are the only two items.
and then we'll talk about hangar C reconstruction.
Yeah, we'll do that during our report.
So, ma'am, what was it you wanted to speak to?
These two issues, the report and the rules.
Okay.
Good afternoon, my name is Beth Davis. I live at 1962 Harding Plaza, 3 houses south of the airport, and we've been there for 35 years. And we care very much about the airport and how successful it is and how safe it is. So when I pulled this, I was compelled to at least come ask you to, I have some questions about the report. Number one, it's old, right? It's from February 2020, what I printed out. And you received it in October, and some of you are still new. But when I went to 1.2, the first statement says, accurate historical data regarding the number of operations conducted at Clearwater is not available. So for me, that says this is best guesses. And the baseline here says 50,000, and again, I'm not a pilot, I'm not an owner, I'm here as a neighbor and a resident. There's 50,000 flights in 2014 and a baseline. And if you think about 50,000 flights, and that's an arrival or a departure, I think, the experts, there are no touch and goes here, that would be 140 a day. And that just doesn't happen here. So for me to tell you, this is a really high estimate from what I see and live through every day. I feel like we have 5 or 10 planes a day in the morning, maybe at night. We have some classes. The biggest addition has been helicopter classes. And helicopter classes in our neighborhood are a noise factor. This report says that helicopters will probably double over 20 years, going from 5 to 11.
The consultant is looking at the landings golf course, you know. Well, that's good for the Airpark. It provides a lot of safe issues, you know. If there was ever an emergency or something, you're not in a population, you're not in a neighborhood right there. So the landings is something that provides a buffer for a lot of different things. And then there's other things in there as far as expansion for hangars. You know, we just heard from one of our members here, you know, can we have any more tie downs? Is there any more space for T hangars or corporate hangars or different things there? And those are the things that this report looks at and tweaks, and then the state, the DOT, blesses this report, and they say it follows all FAA guidelines. Not saying we're going to build even a quarter of what is in here, but all these things are eligible for future funding. So the city then looks at it, knowing that the engineering consultant developed the report, FDOT reviewed the report, it's based on FAA guidelines and regulations, and they bless it, and then they ask the city to support it, because if the city comes now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and identifies something in the report that now makes sense to do at the airport, it's eligible for that funding. So that's why there's a lot of things in here that may never get built, but we don't know, we don't need them now because this is a 20-year plan. So if that kind of helps you know, a lot of people look at it and they think that we're ready to, you know, to begin this journey to do all of these projects. And when you look at it's millions and millions of dollars worth of projects there that airport could never support, but they're in the plan. Okay, and then the rules and regulations. You know, we had the rules and regulations that we started working on last year, and the reason we started working on them last year was because we kind of combined them with a review of the leases for the hangars. You know, we had some issues with our hangar tenants and uses in the hangar and so forth, and that kind of got cumbersome in two different ways. That the hangar lease itself is something that the FBO controls by the master lease. Those are subleases under our lease with the FBO. The rules and regulations are something the city controls, and from time to time we can change things, edit them, add things, delete them as we see fit. So it was really easy for us to put things in a document that's changeable at any point in time than to encumber things in a lease that we've signed off that's good for 5 or 10 years. So that's why I wanted to see things within the rules and regulations that is a breathing, moving document where the hangar lease should just be who's in it, how much they pay, and you know, it's just one page. The rules and regulations are multiple pages, what you can do in the hangar, what you can't do in the hangar. Those things don't actually need to be in the lease itself because the rules and regulations become part of the hangar lease itself. So you're going to rent a lease a space at the airport, you get a 1 or 2 page document to who you are, how much you pay, and how long you're going to be here, and then we hand you 10 pages of rules and regulations. So that was where the split was between the hangar lease, and the rules and regulation had a lot of the same things in them, but they didn't match. So it was cumbersome. You read your lease that you sign, and then we give you some rules, and you say, well, it kind of says this in my lease, but now it says a little bit different in the rules and regulations. So I wanted to make everything the same. So that was the intent there. So we put it together, Mike and I, using suggestions from the board that we got over that last year, working with the FBO, got it, sent it to legal, they reviewed it, and then the city manager is able to change the rules and regulations at the Airpark. So that's what we did during our break last year. Any questions there? I'll try to.
So would the rules and regulations come back to the board when they're going to be updated, or is that just you'd kind of just tell us they've been updated?
They can come back, yes. And if you have suggestions to update them, we can update them again. These rules can be changed. I mean, we're not gonna change them every 6 weeks, but I mean, we hadn't changed them in a long time. It had been over 10 years since there had been any modification. So this next year, if there's things that were missed, we can change them again.
So it's basically a living document.
It's a living document, yes. So that's part of, you guys know more than some of us here in the city, because you're out there, you live and breathe it as pilots and as users of the Airpark. I'm a lay person that, I represent the city and the city's interests too, so I need guidance from the board and from Barb and everybody to help me understand what's needed. And then my job is to relay that to the city manager's office and so forth, to make sure that everybody gets what they need and it's legally sufficient.
And then I had some questions on the master plan still.
Sure.
So I read through the whole thing, and I know the rotating beacon is one of the things higher up on the list to get done, and there's 2 different figures that had 2 different places of where the rotating beacon is going to be placed. So I didn't know if that's just still hasn't been determined of where it's going to be placed, or
No.
okay.
No, that's just saying, I know that there'd been talked here with the board before about having a beacon out there. So that was just something just added in, just like it is, just a wish list. It's just kind of the same in this document where they show a couple different places where they could build a hangar. One of them's in the middle of a stormwater drain, so that would, never, or a stormwater pond. So it's just one of those things. These are a couple suggestions, but it's in there.
Yeah,
So
I
before, I'm sorry.
The language, some of it said like it was preferred for some of the options that were presented, but I didn't see that for the road.
Yeah, basically, if we were gonna build a beacon, is we would get with an engineer, and we'd follow FAA guidelines, and they would find the perfect spot and where it's not gonna bother anybody off the airfield, things like that. So there would be a study done before a beacon was ever implemented.
And
Yeah,
then-
because those things too, and we have to go through the city for setbacks and zoning, so all these things. So everything here is really, 10,000 feet, if you will. But then when you actually, okay, now we're going forward with the beacon, where's that beacon gonna go? And it might be in one of those general areas, location. But that would be, again, the whole review and design and placement and zoning and FAA criteria would all kick in at that point. Even though it's here now, we're not committed to any location in here for the beacon or a hangar.
Okay, and then I was wondering with the analysis, when it's looking at the future and it's saying if you build these couple of hangars that you should have enough between that and the transient parking to encompass what they expect the traffic would be, but I wasn't sure if there was the suggestion of possibly building a restaurant there. That really brings in a lot of traffic to other airports. People fly into restaurants just for a $100 hamburger. And was something like that looked at? Because I think a restaurant would be a great idea there, but how would that affect how many more possible planes could come in and would need transient parking? And would the 15 spots or whatever that are there be enough with how many people are already just usually parked there on, a day or a couple day basis? So I wasn't sure if that would really be encompassing something like that. I think that would be good for the increased car parking spaces, because that should cover how many people you might have that drive in, but I'm just wondering for people that might fly in. And with the possibility of the landings golf course no longer continuing in existence, I've heard a lot of talks back and forth about whether they can afford to stay there or not, and then complaints that the city isn't getting enough money from them per month because they have a low monthly lease. I still think that we should keep that area as Airpark property, and I was wondering if maybe we looked into expanding and making more hangars over there, because as we've heard from Barb, there's been a waiting list for a long time, and I think that it would be like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Absolutely, in this, it shows where the landing, future expansion, it shows it. It doesn't have any diagrams of hangars or anything in there. But that would be addressed at that time. If we were able to expand, well, that would open this back up, and then, okay, we can develop some stuff here. So it's open for development. It's just not detailed in this master plan.
Okay, and I wasn't sure if that was something that could still be addressed with this master plan, or the master plan would need to be updated, I guess, at that point with more details.
You could always update the master plan midstream if something changed. Right now, the landings is open space rec zoning, it's a parks and rec asset. We have no preference over it, we're just, we exist with it as a neighbor. The Park and Rec Board spoke about the landings, was it this week, Pat, or?
I think that right now the plans are to keep it going because they've made some deal to get the reclaimed water. They got some price on it, so for now it's going to continue to operate as a golf course.
It's under lease, it has a lease that still has, I think, 10 or 12 years
Yes.
left on it.
Yeah.
So it's, we haven't broken their lease, neither have they. They intended to break their lease for this development that was not passed. So right now, nothing has changed for the Landings Golf Course from their standpoint that would even make it available for us.
Well, that was the last I heard, that changing the reclaimed water was gonna be quite expensive, and they weren't sure if they could, afford that cost, so that I didn't know if this was gonna be
I've
something
heard
that
that same thing
come
too.
back up again.
But they made some special deal that with Swift Mud, I don't know. They got a discount.
Okay, and, let's see, what else do I have in there? Oh yeah, I do think the restaurant is a great idea, because I like to think of the Airpark as, a family kind of place. A lot of people that have been there for years, especially the old timers, they love to come and hang out on the porch. I think they would like a restaurant as well. But being someone that has kids, and I've been to other smaller airports that have like a tiny little playground, maybe something, not like Albert Wooded, but maybe something like we got a couple of little spring airplanes for little kids to sit on, and if that could maybe be entered or added to the master plan, I think that might be something nice to add to the outdoor seating area.
I want to say something about that relates to that for the parking. And I've been at, I don't know how many, hundreds of small airports all around the country, and it's always amazed me. The ones that had restaurants, and there's times when, as a crew, we're working long hours and we're hungry, and look, they have a restaurant. We go to these restaurants at these airports around the country, and it's amazing. They're filled with families. It's not, the majority of the people at these restaurants didn't fly in. Some, obviously, pilots go, it's known with pilots they'll go there to eat, but it's amazing to me, pre-COVID, how those restaurants could really thrive at an airport. It's a great gathering place for the community, and if they have a restaurant, of all the places I've been very impressed with them.
And I think that the master plan, in talking of a new terminal, that is something that would be in the terminal, so that is on the table for the new terminal. Right now, there's no room for a restaurant in the small space that's there, but, pretty much the sky's the limit if you wanted to, to build something and could afford to build something. Put a restaurant in a terminal on a second floor, elevated,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've got a couple comments to make as well. And Kelly, I like your thoughts. And I agree with you and Paul. My experience, and you all don't know me, but I've been in the aviation business for 53 years, and I've been on executive staff at 3 major airports and aviation director at 4 different consulting firms. So I've covered the territory, and without question, anything we can do, of course, going through the master plan, evaluating, and so on, anything we can do to increase revenue at the airport just makes a lot of sense, as long as we can do it within the appropriate guidelines. And yes, I agree with both of you that my experience has been small airports, large airports, doesn't matter. But particularly at small airports, restaurants in general have been pretty successful. And yes, there's the fly-in for the $100 hamburger, but there's also families that come by to watch the airplanes, and I think we see that at Albert Whitted at the Hangar Restaurant. One of the things that, and it's, Barbara, why I asked about the parking before, one of the things that I always look at airports is what kind of tie-down spaces they have, what kind of hangar spaces they have, what's the financial structure, and what's the chance of improving revenues. You get an improved revenue stream, it makes a big difference to how you can operate the facility. So if there is an opportunity, and I've not really studied the master plan, I have no comment right now on it, but I will, and I'll get back to Mike and Ed on that. You know, I've done master plans myself. I've been project managers on them, so I know a little bit about all that. One of the other things I want to comment on is the issue of noise that I can't remember your name, I apologize, but that you brought up. The Airpark gets federal funds, correct?
No.
No, you don't get any federal funds. Okay. Well, then that takes care of my argument. I know the DOT does not set standards for aircraft noise. The FAA does. So if you got federal money, then there would be a limit to. There's a noise limit of 65 LDN, but that's not the case here. So I think being good stewards of the neighborhood, I'm sure that we'll do our very best to mitigate noise as best we can.
And then so to speak to that with increasing revenue, that would come back to my thing, if there's the Landings Golf Course is ever looked at again to reduce in size or go away. I mean, we know that hangar and tie-down fees bring in a lot of money, so I think that if the city is thinking they're not getting enough money from the golf course, that again, it should be a first option to look at expanding the Airpark versus some sort of commercial building that they were proposing
I would agree.
previously.
One more question. Do we ever have, it seems like in the past, I've seen anyway, like a special activity day or something where they take them up for rides and so on?
That's our open house, and we didn't have one last year because.
Barbara, I'm sorry if they can't hear you if you're not at the microphone. The TV.
That was our open house that we have, and, we bring in the community, everything's free except for the rides, and the flight school provides rides, both in helicopters and in airplanes at reduced rates, but unfortunately because of COVID this year and no social gatherings, we did not have one last year.
And
So.
it doesn't look.
Not sure if we'll have one this year either,
Yeah.
until we see what the CDC says.
Were they in your view, were they successful in
Very,
promoting?
very popular, yes,
Good.
yes.
All right, that's great.
Yeah, and I would say in addition to those, also the EAA has Young Eagle events there, and the 99's International Organization of Women Pilots had also have Girl Scout days there that they were going to start doing flying events with as well. But same thing, because of COVID, we weren't able to have any last year, and I'm not sure this year if we'll be able to have any either.
Does the CAP doesn't fly out of the Airpark?
The CAP has a campus there.
Oh.
And I understand they suspended their meetings as well. They meet there every Thursday night, or had until COVID. But now they're back to just having the, not the cadets, just the people in charge. They were there Thursday night, so just the commander, and I guess, I don't know what the correct terminology is for the people that are in there. But I guess, when they can, they'll start back up. But they do have a campus there. They're probably one of the biggest in the state.
Do they have aircraft based there?
They don't have aircraft base there, no. But they do bring aircraft in occasionally to do their sorties or whatever they call it for their cadets.
Okay.
And they always help us out with Neighbor Day, or open house as we call it. you've probably never been to one, but we give free hot dogs and soft drinks and waters. And we get upwards of 700-800 people at a time. And a lot of them do take airplane rides and helicopter rides at reduced rate. Some of you have been there for the open house. It's been really popular.
Good to hear. Thank you.
And Pat, for your notes, that CAP, that's the Civil Air Patrol, just so.
Okay, and then I had one more thing on the master plan, that I just wanted to get it on the record again, that I'm still opposed to the tearing down of the shade hangars to build T-hangars, because there's an increase in costs there, and for the people who don't have as much money, who would still want to have an aircraft, and may not necessarily want to do a non-protected tie-down, the shade hanger is their middleman opportunity, and I don't think that the remaining shade hangars should be torn down to be converted to T-hangars. I feel that they should be kept as shade hangars.
And there are no plans on that. You know, if something was to come up later on down the road, it would be probably because there was other options available than to tear down the shade hangers.
Yeah, because it's in the master plan as a possible
Yep.
thing, so I just wanted to bring
That's
it
the
up.
expansion,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, and we just looked at all those shade hangers too, from a structural standpoint. We had a structural engineer out there because they are getting aged and older. So we need to do some weatherproofing and rust sandblasting and painting on them. And that's a plan that Mike is looking at now. But we're going to address them, not all at the same time because it's expensive, but we're going to do where it needs first and then keep that going as projects into the out years. So we are going to keep the hangars there now. We just need to keep them up, paint them, and secure them.
And that was all I had.
Anything else? No. And that's it for old business, the director's report.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mason, does he have anything to
Oh,
add?
sorry, right.
Ron, did you have anything to add to the discussion on the master plan or the rules and regulations?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
Director's,
Director's report, Ed, you just want to continue on?
yeah, I just,
You're doing
pretty
good,
much covered it,
you're on
right?
fire.
No, I've said probably most everything I wanted to say, but I wanted Mike to give an update on Hangar C replacement project, where we are with that. That's another thing that has been working behind the scenes during this last year, so.
And absolutely, and we put together a design team. We used a construction manager at risk through the city as a city vendor. And they've designed a hangar. It's going to be identical to D with a couple variations because of code changes. One, we're going to have 2 bathrooms on it. And that's in permitting right now. So we're still looking and we're still on schedule to do the tear down of Hangar C in March. And the new building is being built, and it's going to be trucked in and stored on the south side of the airfield. And then once we get permits in hand, you'll see that thing go up pretty quick, so.
Yeah, the project's fully funded now, so what Mike said was that's a metal building manufactured. We've already paid for it, and it's gonna be in shipment, so it's coming to us. So it might come before we're ready for it, but we'll deal with that. But we are definitely moving forward with that, and we will have a new hangar out there sometime this year.
We got a new pickup truck. I don't know if y'all have seen the new Nissan Frontier out there. That's going to give us good longevity. The Ford's starting to cost us some money, and it's, old, so we're going to retire her. The security guard shack is staffed every night with our security aides, so we've moved them out of the terminal into there just to get more eyes out on the airfield, to protect your all's interests, so. Yes, and right now I'm in the process of getting all the security cameras operational and upgraded, and you'll see those guys, they're beginning the work. I've ordered, I've hired a contractor to come in and do that, and they're gonna be installing new cameras, running new cable, some new fiber optics. So it's gonna be a good thing. No more fuzzy pictures.
And another thing to note too, part of the CARES Act with the COVID relief package, the first one. There was a lot of money for airports in that first stimulus package. So we, the Airpark, was awarded $30,000. That was the number that came to us. We didn't ask for that much or ask for more or less, but that was a number that they said we were eligible for. So we have accepted that grant, and I think we're going to use that on some maintenance issues such as the shade hangers, to repaint them and such. The grant's very specific on what you use the money for. It has to be something ongoing maintenance or things to keep the Airpark successful, not capital improvement projects that were already anticipated. So we're going to use it for things like camera upgrades, painting, fence repair, that type of stuff that we do all the time out of, you know, reserves that may have been hit or hurt because of the downturn.
And I'm going to be meeting with our representative with the Florida Department of Transportation in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to look at our 6-year plan. You know, right now we have the new terminal that's in the that we have in the CIP, which is the Capital Improvement Program, and we have the mill and overlay of the apron. That's 2024, I do believe. The terminal's 2023. I'm going to look at doing 3 phases to repair those shade hangers, repair each one. I also got to look at repainting the taxiway and the runway. So there's some things like that that we're going to talk about programming and getting that into a 6-year plan. So.
Yeah, and with the way that the master plan was structured, it had like, you know, projects that you could do right away in the next few years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 20 years. We really lost a year with COVID, so we need to adjust that early window because there are projects that were anticipated that could be done. So with our CIPs, you know, we project everything out, you know, 6 years. We start on them. So there, this overlay and some of the terminal project, you know, we already have a CIP for a new terminal. But we've lost a year and haven't done anything, so we may kick that out a year in the plan. So it's just tweaking it based on, you know, what happened. 2020 was not a year that anything was projected new for the coming years, so we're just erasing it and move things out.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Really good information.
Absolutely.
And
Did Ron have any comment?
Ron, are you
Ron?
have anything to comment?
I'm sorry for that.
I can understand.
we can include the board members to be heard if you want to. It's next on the list. You have anything to add, Mike? I mean, Ron?
Ron, we're at the end where board members can bring up issues or comments that they'd like to leave with the board. Ron, are you there still?
I'm here. I keep waking up for some reason.
Okay, yeah, no, we apologize. That's Pat's fault, our board reporter. She is responsible for all glitches. But we're just asking any of the board members if they have anything they want to leave with the board for next meeting or comments from something totally different.
Still didn't get you. I'm sorry.
You need to make it short.
Right now it's real silent.
Oh, okay. Did you want to lead the board with any comments for this meeting or next?
No, I don't have comments. No. Sorry about that.
Anybody else?
Oh, I have one thing. Since I've been working from home for the past year, I don't have a printer. So I did read all these things, but it's kind of nice to have a copy, and I didn't know if you guys could make sure that you provide a copy of any of the linked documents that you want us to read, because I like to be able to take notes on it, and I won't get it
I'll have
printed.
to ask the clerk's office, do we do that, Pat? Paper copies.
I don't print out paper copies for this. That would be the liaison.
Okay, is that something we can do if they request it?
Do you want mine for this meeting?
Oh, no, No, I took notes all on the agenda, but,
Okay.
you know,
Well, if you want to take this home so you can put your notes with this, you're more than welcome to it.
okay, that's fine.
I mean, I can't print out the master plan for you, I mean, we just don't have that.
What's the date of
I
the,
can print out, small things, but not hundreds of pages of master plan.
that's one, I'm gonna have to get
Okay, I just figured I would ask.
That's why we give the links, because, you know, I don't have a copier either, you should come to my office and.
Well, I just wanted to ask.
I can always email it to you PDF, but, I mean, you have it.
No, I can access it online. My thing is, I just like to be able to take notes and write things on it because I don't have access
Hard to
to a
beat a
printer
I'm
now.
like that, I'm like that too.
Yeah, and, I just know other advisory board meetings I go to, they always print out any document that's going to be gone over for the advisory board members, so I figured.
Well,
I'd bring
here
them.
we usually provide access to the computers and people pull things up.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Okay, anything else from the board members?
Nope.
No, nothing for me.
Okay, thanks. So anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Second? All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
You did good today, Paul.